Fall in Polk County. I'm Chris Drummond, and this is today's Veteran.
Hello and welcome. I'm Kate West, filling in today for Chris Drummond. In this episode, we talk to Staff Sergeant Jonathan Currea, a Lake Wales Army recruiter and the latest non-commissioned officer to be inducted into the elite Sergeant Audie Murphy Club. We will also hear from Michael O'Callahan about his time in the Army, and McKinley Belcher shares his fondness for the Navy. But first, we take you on location for an inside look at this year's Lakeland Warrior Walk and the Marine Silent Drill Platoon.
Chris Drummond here. I'm on location at the 2012 Warrior Walk. Over my shoulder, you see over 300 white crosses. These crosses represent fallen soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen. All of them gave their lives so that we can live ours. This event included a 5K walk, the Marine Corps Silent Drill Team performed, and there was a charity raffle. Melissa's responsible for coordinating this event. Melissa, first of all, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I want to give you the opportunity. Tell us about the Warrior Walk. Tell us about your organization.
Thank you. The Iraq-Afghanistan Veterans of Polk County is an all-volunteer group. This is our main event, but we like to help out with other events. This year it went off really well. We're guesstimating about 1,500 people came out to support those fallen. Most of the heroes we speak about today gave their lives on foreign soil. It's just special to me because I've met so many Gold Star families along the way. A Gold Star family member is somebody who has lost somebody in combat. And it just means a lot to me because, you know, these guys put their life on the line for us. And it just means a lot to me. My husband was in Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003. And, you know, thank God he came back. But there was a point in time we weren't even sure. It just means a lot to me. I mean, it's my heart. It's what I do.
Oh, yeah. Really, the event's mainly for public awareness. You know, the guys, you know, too often than not, you know, they get forgotten, and we don't want that to happen. So it's important to let the community know that we're still thinking about these guys, the people who've lost their lives, the people who are serving in the military now, and we just want to know that we support them and we haven't forgot about them. There's 358 crosses. They represent Florida's fallen, which is a very small portion of, you know, the actual, you know, KIAs. But we just want to honor them and really to be able to put a face with a name on the shirt so you know who you're walking in honor of.
Now, when you say Florida's fallen, what time period do these crosses represent?
This is the Iraq and Afghanistan veterans.
Can you give me a salute?
Will, how old are you?
5.
You're 5. I don't believe that. You look too good for your age.
Oh.
Tell me a little bit about what you're wearing. What uniform is this?
A sailor.
A sailor's uniform. Why are you wearing a sailor's uniform?
Because for the warrior walk, I walk for soldiers.
That's right. Are you walking for any particular soldier or someone in the Navy? Is that why you chose a Navy uniform?
All of the soldiers that died.
All of them?
All of them that died.
All of them that died. That's a pretty heavy mantle to bear, my friend, for someone so young. Now, other than the 5K walk, what else did the event entail?
The event featured the world-famous United States Marine Corps Silent Drill Platoon.
These Marines perform their precision drill in front of hundreds of thousands of spectators throughout the United States and abroad every year.
40 of the top Marines performed a 20-minute drill sequence. They had bayoneted rifles. I mean, they did the whole 9 yards, and it was amazing. These are all infantrymen. They trained for 2 years to be on the Silent Drill Platoon. So they are the best of the best, and the crowd was just ecstatic, and we were so excited to invite them to Polk County.
Did you go to the gymnasium? Did you see the Marines?
Yes.
Did you? What'd you think of that?
That was cool.
It was cool. What'd they do?
They was like there was like big booms and
Big booms?
yeah.
Where?
That was like, yup, and spinning stuff.
What were they spinning?
They're guns.
What's your involvement with the Warrior Walk? Are you here as simply a participant, or do you represent some interest?
Well, a little bit of both. We're with the American Legion Department of Florida. We come out to support anything veteran related. Obviously, this strikes a chord with us as a family organization. We've lost several of our members recently, so we just want to come out, and show our support to the families, to the wounded veterans as best as we can.
Okay. Are there any specific projects that you're involved with the American Legion?
The big one right now is Project Homefront. What it is it's designed really to get the families and the civilians involved more with supporting our troops. The American Legion is a membership organization, so you actually have to be a veteran to join. And we found that there's a lot of people out there who still want to support their troops, nephews, cousins, dads, things like that. And this is an opportunity to really engage the troops as they come home. We've got several events lined up, concerts for a lot of the younger veterans, paintball tournaments, things like that.
That sounds great. Now, is that a way for younger veterans and maybe non-veterans to come together? Is that
Absolutely.
a way for them to interact?
Absolutely. And it's to support our younger generation of vets that are coming back, and let them know that we love them, anything we can do. And it helps when they can connect and get into things that they're interested in, and especially when they've got a lot of people out to support them doing that. It makes them feel more welcome.
Can you tell me a little bit about how your organization works with other VSOs, other veteran service organizations in the area?
We really try to work hard with the Wounded Warrior Project, the VA mainly too, to be able to get that awareness out for the veterans that need help and don't know where to go to get it. Because a lot of times, you get lost in the system, and we want to kind of direct them on the right path to be able to get the help they need.
Before we go, do you want to go ahead and toss out your contact information if anyone wants additional info on the Warrior Walk or participating next year, or even participating in the capacity of being a sponsor?
Absolutely. Just visit warriorwalklakeland.com. My email is IAVPC, stands for Iraq, Afghanistan's Veterans of Polk County, IAVPC@hotmail.com.
Fantastic. Melissa, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you for this donation. I have to say, for all of those that were involved in creating this documentary, make sure it is first.
The Purple Heart is a combat decoration awarded to members of the U.S. Armed Forces who are wounded by an instrument of war in the hands of an enemy. Many of the over 50,000 veterans in Polk County were wounded in combat and awarded the Purple Heart. Polk was recently named a Purple Heart County, one of only 8 in the country. In the spirit of collaboration, the city of Lakeland and Polk County hosted a groundbreaking ceremony on Saturday, 11 August, at the spot in Veterans Park where the city's new Purple Heart Memorial will be built. The ceremony began with over 30 Purple Heart recipients pulling up to the park in the new Purple Heart County bus. Special Purple Heart County flags, supplied by the Military Order of the Purple Heart, were also flown on this day throughout the county as a show of support for the momentous occasion. According to the National Purple Heart Hall of Honor, there has never been a consistent record of recipients. It's thought that about 1.9 million service members have been awarded the Purple Heart since the first ones were bestowed in 1932. Recipients range from Civil War veterans who've received the Purple Heart posthumously to soldiers in today's wars in the Middle East. One such recipient was Audie Murphy, the most highly decorated American soldier in World War II. Murphy earned every decoration for valor the United States had to offer at the time. The Sergeant Audie Murphy Club was created to develop, inspire, and motivate the best possible leaders in the U.S. Army. Only non-commissioned officers whose leadership achievements and performance warrant special recognition can qualify to earn a membership into the club. Staff Sergeant Jonathan Currea visited our studio to tell us what it took for him to win this coveted award and lead from the front.
Today we had the unique opportunity to sit down with Staff Sergeant Jonathan Currea. Staff Sergeant Currea is the 2012 recipient of the Sergeant Audie Murphy Award. Sergeant Currea, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Obviously, let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. What is the Sergeant Audie Murphy Award?
Chris, the Sergeant Audie Murphy Award is an elite organization of NCOs whose demonstrated performance and inherent leadership abilities and qualities are characterized by those of Sergeant Audie Murphy.
Natural question, I think, would be, who's Sergeant Audie Murphy?
Audie Murphy, he is the highest decorated soldier in American history, receiving the Medal of Honor, receiving the Distinguished Service Cross. Pretty much, Chris, he received every award for valor that America has to give.
Okay. Now, naturally, being an Army alum, I understand the process. I understand how coveted this award is. If you would share with our viewers, what did you have to go through to win this competition? And maybe competition is not the right word, but in reality, you competed for this award, correct?
Yes, Chris.
Okay, if you would go ahead and tell our viewers just a little bit about what you went through, the process.
Well, the process is pretty much, me being out of Tampa Recruiting Battalion,
okay,
which is in Tampa, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We were there was an email sent out. Whoever wanted to step up to the challenge to compete for the Sergeant Audie Murphy Board, and out of the whole battalion, only 2 soldiers wanted to step up to the challenge, which was myself and Sergeant First Class Cox. So automatically, we went, we presented ourselves, and we made it to the next level, mm-hmm. which was the Brigade Board, which was held in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, we fall under the 2nd Recruiting Brigade, which is a Team Eagle. Once I was there, I competed against 30 other soldiers, and out of those 30, only 10 were selected. Those 10 soldiers then went up to USAREC, and we competed in the final level of the Sergeant Audie Murphy Club Award, which was in Indianapolis, Indiana. And out of 54 non-commissioned officers that showed up there, only 24 got selected, Chris.
Okay. What made you want to compete in the first place? What made you open that email, read it, and thought, I want to get me some of that?
Well, Chris, I saw it as a challenge, and growing up in the Army, or as a young private, I always heard about Sergeant Audie Murphy and about the board process and how competitive it is and how hard it is to actually get inducted into the club. So I definitely wanted to see if I had what it took. So I just stepped up to the challenge, started studying, and tried my best to balance, the hard job of being a United States Army recruiter with studying for this board. So I just took it day by day, and as you can see, all my index cards there that are handwritten, just studied diligently and stepped up to the challenge.
Now, you make mention of the index cards, and I think that's a fantastic segue. What was your impression of the process? Was it simply, for lack of a better term, muscle memory, just memorizing facts and tasks, or did you actually have to put thought into it? Did they go into any detail looking at your background as not only as a recruiter, but as a non-commissioned professional, as a leader?
My impression of the process, Chris, is it's definitely something that not everyone is going to be able to do. This is something you got to prepare for as a young private in the United States Army. This is not something you just wake up and say, well, I want to be a part of the Audie Murphy Club. This is something that you've had to be thinking about, since you were a private. And for me, it all started just studying for boards,
mm-hmm.
Soldier of the Month board, Soldier of the Year board, and stuff like that. And it wasn't really until I became a recruiter where I started going to boards again. I thought after I got pinned E6, that was the last board I was going to go to. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, that wasn't the way. But they do look at all your NCOERs, which is a non-commissioned officer report that lets your superiors know how you're performing in your certain duties.
So it's a performance review?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's a performance review, and they also look at your physical fitness level, meaning, they according to TC 3-22.20, which is the new Army physical fitness regulation, they're going to do 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. And you very well have to have a high PT score, 290 or above, if you're trying to compete.
Understandable, understandable. Now, I had shared with you prior to sitting down today that I had worked with someone who was a recipient of it early on in his career, and there were a number of doors open to him. He was still promoted on merit, and he was still given the positions he was given based on his merit and his experience. But the reality is that there were a lot of doors open to him. Have you found that to be the case? Being an Audie Murphy Award recipient, this obviously follows you throughout your career. How do you think this is going to affect the progress of Sergeant Currea's career?
Well, Chris, I really look forward to it, and I know it's going to help me throughout my career, but it also challenges me to be better every single day as a non-commissioned officer, and to give back to young soldiers who I might be in charge of, to instill in them the qualities of Audie Murphy, which are loyalty, discipline, caring, and professionalism. And as long as I can give back to the community, being a part of this club is definitely something about giving back, because right now I'm working on a school drive to give school materials back to some schools in Polk State, well, in Polk County. So it's definitely something that's going to help me advance in my career, but I'm not going to take it for granted, and I'm going to remember every single day that I got to live by the values that Audie Murphy had.
Well, sounds like you've got a plan, Stan. Now, do you know off the top of your head how many recipients there have been? If you'd just go ahead and share with the audience. What I'm trying to do is illustrate the fact that this isn't just handed out like Halloween candy. You genuinely have to compete for this, and if you make the grade, then you make the grade. Now, do you know how many of your predecessors there are?
Well, what I can tell you, Chris, is that out of the USEREC chapter, which is the United States Army Recruiting Command of the Sergeant Audie Murphy Club, last year there was 24 soldiers that made it to the USEREC level, which is the final board process, and out of those 24, only 17 got inducted.
So when someone is a recipient of the award, or excuse me, a recipient of the award, there can be multiple recipients, there can be multiple inductees at one time. It's not like one specific person is chosen out of those competitors. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, Chris.
Okay.
And like, for instance, out of the board that I went to, there was 54 non-commissioned officers and only 24 got inducted. And it's all based on your record, it's all based on the board packet that you submit. It's based on your NCOERs, your leadership abilities, and pretty much your track record that you've left, since you've been in the United States Army as an NCO. Now,
you and I have both used the term inducted. If you would go into a little bit of detail into what are you inducted? What does being an Audie Murphy board, or excuse me, an Audie Murphy award recipient carry with it? What are you inducted into? What kind of awards, honors do you receive?
Well, Chris, I just want to let you know and let the audience know that the Sergeant Audie Murphy Club is an elite organization of NCOs whose demonstrated performance and inherent leadership abilities and qualities are characterized by those of Sergeant Audie Murphy. Members exemplify leadership characterized by the personal concern for the needs, training, development of the soldiers and family members of those soldiers. So that's the type of club that I'm getting into. So I got to remember to always put soldiers first and their families first as well. But I know that I'll be receiving, hopefully, this coming up year, January or February, at our annual Leaders Conference, an award, and also a Sergeant Audie Murphy medallion, which is infantry blue, and it has his logo on it, his profile, with the words loyalty, discipline, caring, and professionalism inscribed on that medallion, Chris.
Okay, all right. We've talked a lot about the board, the process. We've talked a lot about why specifically you're here. I'd love to give you the opportunity to not just share with the audience Staff Sergeant Currea, but tell us a little bit about Jonathan Currea. Tell us a little bit about the man, the myth, the legend, who you are, where you're from. You're a family man, I know that much. So let's start with who you are and where you're from.
All right, Chris. Well, I was born in Houston, Texas, and raised in Miami, Florida. Never knew my dad at all. My dad was never in my picture in my life. My mom, Nancy, she's a barber still to this day, and that's how she raised me with my other 3 brothers. So I'm coming from a mom that really did her job well, that I love very, very much. And I was the first one in my family to actually join the United States Army in 2004. And I wanted to join just to serve my country, but to also continue my education and to see if I had what it took to be in the United States Army. Now I'm going on almost 8 years, September 9th, and it's been one of the best decisions I've made in my life. Being a part of this board process has taught me that it's important to be resilient, and resiliency means just being able to recover from a situation, stress, and being able to bounce back and then perform your duties. And for me, not having my father, and also dealing with a couple of my family members committing suicide at a very young age, it's taught me just to always push forward and to look at, you know, the sun rising the very next day, knowing that tomorrow is going to be better than the day that just passed. So that's one thing that this board process has taught me. And I can tell you that when I was very, very young, I was always competitive. I used to race bicycle motocross, and I was like #1 in the state of Florida for my age group. I'm talking about 1997, 1998, Chris. But a lot of those values of being competitive helped me to be successful in the United States Army.
Okay. Well, you had mentioned you're coming up on 8 years. What have you crammed into that 8 years? Now, tell us a little bit about the salad you have on that suit there.
Well, in 8 years, Chris, I can tell you that I've been deployed to Iraq twice. Okay. I went OIF 05-07, and I was with Alpha Company. I was with HHC 4th Brigade, 4th Infantry Division, and I served as a driver and gunner for a previous 4th Brigade commander, Colonel Beach. I was on his personal security team with about other 14 soldiers. You know, we had, if we ever rolled out of the wire or, you know, on a mission, we would run maybe like 20 soldiers deep, and our job was to protect him. You know, if he had to meet with a political leader, or if he had to go out, you know, and just wanted to see a certain area, we were his bodyguards. And I knew that if something came down, I would give my life up for him in protecting him. My second deployment was in Al-Amara, Iraq, where I served in Alpha Company 27 Cav, Gary Owen.
Gary Owen.
And I served as an Alpha team leader in a mechanized infantry company. And mainly for that deployment, we did a lot of security patrols, but we also gave back to the community as well. I know we were giving out food, we were giving out beds to certain areas in Iraq. And I remember my first 5 or 6 months, I was staying in a stadium. They had an old Olympic stadium over there in Al-Amara, Iraq, and it was kind of weird or kind of different having to do laundry in a bucket and water and taking a shower with a 5-gallon jug. So it was an experience, but I've definitely learned to be more grateful for what I have here in the United States.
Well, that's great.
And I've also been to a couple different leadership schools, like Warrior Leaders Course, Basic Non-Commissioned Officer Course, and the Advanced Leaders Course.
And these are all professional development courses, continuing education?
Yes, sir.
Am I understanding that correctly? Okay.
Yes, Chris. In order to advance to sergeant, you have to have Warrior Leaders Course completed. And then to advance to Staff Sergeant, you have to have the Basic Non-Commissioned Officer Course. And right now, there's kind of a change in the promotion process. In order to be promoted to Sergeant First Class, you have to have Advanced Leaders Course completed now.
Okay. Yeah, I was an ANOC grad by the skin of my teeth. Skin of my teeth. Well, I first of all want to thank you for coming in and sitting down and talking with us today. In closing, I have one question and one question only, my friend. You're an Army recruiter, right?
Yes.
How many MOSs are there in the Army? How many jobs are there in the Army?
There are 150 jobs in the United States Army.
Wrong. There's 2, infantry and everybody else.
You're right, Chris. So infantry again, and everybody else.
Should anyone want any additional information, as you are a recruiter for the United States Army, Sergeant Currea, if you go ahead and provide the audience with your contact information.
Yes, Chris. We're located at the Eagle Ridge Mall, Eagle Ridge Recruiting Center, and the address is 936 Eagle Ridge Drive, Lake Wales, Florida, and you can reach us at the office phone, which is 863-679-3106, or on my government cell phone, which is 813-785-3767.
Fantastic. Sergeant Currea, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
My name's Michael Callahan. Entered the service through the draft in 1968, February. I was discharged in December of 1969. I did basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Went on to advanced infantry training in Fort Gordon, Georgia. I volunteered to go to the airborne school in Fort Benning, Georgia. And from there I was selected to go to rigger school in Fort Lee, Virginia. While I was in jump school, a group of us went to town to get tattoos, and these 3 friends of mine, they were all from Ohio, and they decided to get red lips with airborne tattooed on their buttocks, which was comical to see in the shower when everybody's in there. We all ended up going to Nam after rigger school. I spent a year in Vietnam. In rigger school, we learned to pack parachutes, make parachutes, drop tanks, jeeps, trucks, and equipment from C-130s with parachutes.
I had befriended 2 officers. Back then, it was rare, but not that far heard of. But I had befriended 2 officers, dentists actually. Got really, really cool with them. Long story short, they had requested through my OIC, which at the time was officer in charge of our base. I worked at PSD, which is Personnel Support Detachment. Being a yeoman, you work with all officers in the Navy, and they needed some help with their what they called then exit interviewing and things like that. So they just requested me because I'd done a good job for them almost a year prior to this, and I was just about to meet them on the boat. They were going to fly me out to their boat to help them with their exiting and their paperwork and things like that. But as luck will have it, I wasn't able to do that. They found earlier flights off the boat and met me at PSD and took my family out. Well, at the time, it was just my wife and my oldest daughter at the time, and took us out. And, you know, it just gave me, because at that time I was looking to get out early, but they, just by meeting them and talking with them and learning their history in military, again, I was a young man then, they kind of talked me into staying another year and a half, because back then you only really had to do 2.5 to 3 years, so I just wound up doing 4. But my Navy experience was really good. I have no complaints about it. I'm a proud military veteran. My dad's a military vet. I probably know about 150 other veterans from here to Chicago. So again, go Navy. I do recommend the military, again, for a lot of our young adults today. Selective service, most guys probably know you have to sign up for that once you reach 18 years old. They used to have an old saying, an old commercial, it's not just a challenge, it's an adventure. That's exactly what it was. It was a little bit of both. But again, you can get a lot of knowledge. A lot of the things that I took from the military, professionalism, they called it military bearing, but in the civilian life, it's just being professionalism, knowing what it means, knowing when to apply it. I got a lot out of those 4 years being in the Navy. And anybody who knows me or have been knowing me from that time, they know that to be a fact. I learned a lot. And I wasn't one of the guys, you know, I was pretty good in school. It wasn't a thing like the old cliche where you either go to the Navy or go to the military because you can't do anything else. That's bull. A lot of guys that I went in the service with were, they have degrees now and things like that. And again, I don't really have or know of anyone that did have a bad experience in the military. My father's a vet from Nam. One or two of my uncles were veterans. As I mentioned earlier, I've got some good friends and cousins who are still serving. One of my cousins went from the Navy to the Army, so she loves it. And then I have another one of my older cousins. She's actually been in the reserves, probably 25 years now, 25, 26 years now. So, you know, we're a proud military family as it goes. You know, we've got a lot of folks in the military, so to that I say, go military.
We close this episode with an open call to any and all employees of Polk County, regardless of agency, employment type, or position. If you serve the people of this great county, we want you. Your Office of Veteran Services is looking for anyone who has served or may still be serving in the active duty military, reserve component, or National Guard. Be proud of the uniform you donned and send us a photo with your story for display in the Neil Cumby Administration Building in Bartow. For more information on this project or to submit a photo, call the Veteran Services Office at 863-534-5220. Thank you for watching this edition of Today's Veteran. Be sure to tune in next month when we take a look at some of the veterans organizations serving our Polk County community. Until then, I'll see you in the trenches.